night. It's gone for Hemant Soren, who must now step down as Jharkhand Chief Minister. Based on a recommendation from the Election Commission, the Jharkhand governor will notify a disqualification order against Soren for having allotted himself a mining lease while being Chief Minister. With Soren, his Council of Ministers will also resign. Well, what are the ramifications of all of this going to be? Arvind and Saurabh joining us for more on that big story. Arvind, what happens next for Soren and, the JMM Congress alliance in Jharkhand? He's clearly not barred from contesting elections again. So what are the likely scenarios going ahead?
Yeah, Ankita, the Election Commission, according to our sources, has given its opinion on the complaint against Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren for allegedly awarding a government contract to himself as per the Representation of People's Act Section 9A that clearly says that any public or a public personality, a public servant, especially a legislator, cannot award a government contract to himself. And that was the clause based on which a complaint was filed against Hemant Soren, and that particular complaint was promptly forwarded by the governor to the Election Commission, and Election Commission, after a detailed hearing, even after hearing the side of Hemant Soren, has given its opinion to the governor, wherein our sources say that the Election Commission has given its opinion for the disqualification of Hemant Soren because he has violated Section 9A of the Representation of People Act, whereby he allotted or he awarded a mining lease to himself, and that was the ground based on which the Election Commission has given its opinion. And what our sources are saying is that governor is still examining the opinion of the Election Commission, and very soon the governor will be notifying the opinion of Election Commission. The moment the governor notifies the opinion of the Election Commission with his order, then that means that Hemant Soren has to step down as the Chief Minister because he is disqualified as an MLA. The moment the Chief Minister steps down, the Council of Ministers also steps down. But what is interesting here is that the Election Commission, according to our sources in the Election Commission, Hemant Soren is not debarred from contesting any election. That means even after stepping down as Chief Minister, he can again be sworn in as Chief Minister with the support of majority of MLAs, and then he has to get re-elected within 6 months. And that's where what, according to our sources, say that Hemant Soren is in touch with several constitutional experts to decide on the future course of action.
Right. Sort of the BJP, of course, has already demanded midterm polls. How are things poised if elections were to take place? What's the buzz in Ranchi? What's the thinking in the JMM Congress alliance at the moment?
Well, Ankita, throughout the day, we've had the opportunity to be able to speak to some JMM and Congress leaders. Now, all of them seem to indicate that Hemant Soren is likely to continue under perhaps the provisions that Arvind was just mentioning. So, in terms of the Congress, the JMM, also remember there are other smaller parties as far as this alliance in Jharkhand is concerned, the RJD, even the NCP with one MLA. All of them seem to suggest that the numbers are clearly at this point in the favor of the ruling alliance. So the BJP has to, of course, look for other alternates if it wants to form government. And what are those other alternates? If they can get Hemant Soren to resign and they can allow midterm polls, then perhaps they can look at increasing their tally in the Vidhan Sabha, which would then propel them to power. So that's the BJP's rationale behind demanding midterm polls. Meanwhile, as we speak, there is still a meeting underway at the residence of Hemant Soren with all leaders and including alliance leaders that came in the morning. We spoke to them. The Congress seems firmly behind Hemant Soren, so does other alliance partners. It seems what Arvind was saying, that will be perhaps the next few steps. Once, of course, the governor notifies, all eyes on the Raj Bhavan because the governor still hasn't officially done it. But once he does it, that will perhaps set in motion what Arvind was mentioning.
Right. All right, Arvind and Saurabh, thanks very much. Of course, we'll continue to track all developments in that story. This isn't over yet.